Hey everybody, welcome to a video that you probably didn't ask for, but I kind of want to do, so we'll kind of start off at least at that point. What I'm going to be talking about today is probably in the title. I'm going to be talking about comic books and sort of their adaptations and where things are going to be going. We've seen the Marvel MCU stuff be very family friendly in their orientation. You know, a lot of the movies and stuff it tends towards comedy, they slapstick humor, and often very times, like just characters are silly. I mean, if we look at Guardians of the Galaxy, it's one of the funniest movies I've seen in probably quite a while. Thor Ragnarok does the exact same thing, and it's a lot of slapstick humor, a mixture of both. But what I'm going to be talking about through this one is actually the stuff on Netflix, because Punisher 2 just wrapped, and I watched the whole thing. I'm going to do my best not to spoil anything, but I'm going to cover a couple, generalistic approaches to where I think the industry is going to go with these, because with obviously Disney now fully in the mix, this is going to affect how things are going to turn out. So first off, starting off, there's, I think, 2 seasons of Luke Cage, 2 seasons of Iron Fist, 2 seasons of Jessica Jones, 3 seasons of Daredevil, 2 of Punisher, and 1 of Defenders. So there's a ton of content already existing for all these characters and, the sort of extended universe that we see through Netflix. By the way, I think almost every single one of them is fantastically done. I think there's some small nitpicky stuff, and certain seasons are better than others, but I really do like their portrayals of the characters. They intended it for adults. That's the key thing. I at least want to start off here. They were intended for adults. That was the whole point of having this. Now, the thing that I think we're going to have an issue with is that now that Disney is going to be buying them up for their own streaming services, I'm afraid that they're going to try and make these kid-friendly. And these are not meant to be kid-friendly characters. They were initially in the first run of their comics. Iron Fist is very kid-friendly in some of the earlier interpretations. I mean, his costume is green and yellow, very bright colors, and it's supposed to grab the attention of the reader. And he worked with Spider-Man, who is most of the time, very kid-friendly. That's the whole point of it. And then we also have Daredevil, once again, another person who would oftentimes team up with just other superheroes, but initially his costume was not red like this shirt, or like this part of the shirt at least. It was bright yellow, and it really was supposed to be intended for like a more kid audience, if I remember correctly. But then we have like these more dark portrayals of the characters, where there's literally death, broken limbs, blood, guts, gore, and bullets in every single scene. And don't get me wrong, I still stop to talk. But that's the thing that I think really appeals to it. The audiences who grew up reading those earlier interpretations, the characters need to grow up with it. And that is a whole factor. Disney's already got a lot of the actual portrayal of characters pretty much set and done. They've got, every single MCU thing is under their umbrella now, and they're buying up the Netflix stuff. I think really all that's left is Jessica Jones and the Punisher. I think that's really all left. And season 2 just wrapped, so more than likely, probably in the next 4 months, we're going to see that Punisher moves over to Disney. And oh my God, please! I never thought I'd honestly say that statement. But the kicker is, there needs to be these that exist, not going to say just for adults because adults need the comics. No, that's not right. There needs to be portrayal of characters like this that are treated like real people. When I see Spider-Man goes on, he's very cartoony. He's very comic book. Yay, okay, it's comic book. We get it. It is a comic book character. But there needs to be a level of reality to it. And I think we see that in the Netflix stuff. I mean, there is, still suspension and disbelief. Guy can lift up a car. Lady can throw a guy out the window and the guy not die. Daredevil can flip, yet he's blind. He can run across rooftops, yet he can't use his eyes. And I get, he has the other senses, but that's the point. There needs to be that suspension and disbelief. But there needs to also be a little bit of a reality so that we are invested in it, that we see some real things in there. And I think that's honestly why I prefer the Punisher over the other 4 than anything else. I feel that he is more grounded in reality than any other person in that group. All the others have some sort of superpower, name it what you will. But Punisher, he's more human than almost anything. He might be messed up in the head, and you can argue limitations of the brain and body and whatnot, but that's not what I'm trying to point out here. I'm trying to point out that these are characters that feel realistic, like they exist and could exist in our world, and they treat them like humans. Now, there's a portrayal, with a Luke Cage, people like, oh yeah, you're the bulletproof man, power man, that sort of thing. And I get that, and that has its own appeal to it. But for me, to see characters that, live in these comic book universes that are so full of these amazing creatures and monsters and powers and these aliens and stuff, and then we have these guys so grounded in just what their daily lives, it kind of brings everything into a perspective. Like, we see, the Avengers going off and defeating Hydra in AIM and all these other huge organizations, but then we have these little guys over here that, set kind of their own limitations, and they stay in their own sort of areas because they know that these are the battles that they need to fight. Let them do the other thing. We need to fight our fights. And that's why I appreciate them. And we treat them like adults. And if we look also at the parallels, they represent different communities that exist in the United States. Luke Cage represents the African American community. Jessica Jones, I think, represents a lot of the LGBT community. Danny Rand, sorry, my hands keep getting off screen. Danny Rand represents the Oriental community, or the people from the East, at least. And let's see here. Matt Murdock. He represents the middle class, the Catholics and whatnot. The people who ground themselves in religion, to at least a lot of extents. And then Punisher represents the veteran communities, the people who have gone to war, who have seen things, and in a lot of cases probably need help, that are beyond just, normal, hey, how you doing? They need, psychiatric help, and they all represent social problems and social societies that exist. I like that. That's why I went and watched those. I preferred those portrayals because they treated it humanely, maybe is the best term. It became something that you could ground yourself in and see a problem from a perspective that's not your own. I'm not black, I'm not Asian, I'm not Catholic, I'm not a veteran, I'm not any of those. I'm not gay either. It's very, it's the inclusivity without having to live that. You see a perspective of somebody else's life. And they have superpowers, yay, but it's a real human emotion for most of them. Well, some of them tackle family issues. Others will talk about societal issues and community errors and things like that, and what it means to be in certain societies and what it's like with that, not gonna say stereotypes, but that generalized approach to it. I like that. That's why I enjoy it, and I'm always afraid that with the fact that they're changing hands, Disney's not going to like that. It's not clean and picture perfect as they'd want it to be. It's not as lighthearted as all their other content. This is one of the first times we've seen them buying up like what I call almost rated R material, and that scares me because I don't want it to be sugar-coated like we see everything else. I mean, don't get me wrong, it gets dark oftentimes, like Civil War is a great example of, seeing people, impacted by what's going on around them. People dying, they have to live with these consequences, and we see that kind of play out in the movie. But I believe that, honestly, it's more grounded and more substantial when you look at the small pictures. When you look for not just the details, but the actual character growth that exists. And that's why I like the Netflix stuff. I don't want it to go to Disney and it be portrayed wrong. I'm not saying that it's portrayed right in the way that it always should be, but the characters feel right. The actors are perfectly cast for this. I mean, don't get me wrong, all Marvel stuff, the casting is some of the hardest stuff to do, and they kill it almost every single time. I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is a great example, Chris Pratt, Chris Hemsworth, I mean, all the Chris's and everybody else in that universe. There's not a single person, I think, that was casted terribly. And I feel the exact same way, even villain-wise, across the whole spectrum. I mean, if we look at like even some of the lesser villains, I mean, we'll call like Whiplash from Iron Man 2. He plays that character that's Mickey Rourke. I think it's Mickey Rourke. At least that's the actor's name, I'm pretty sure. They played it so well, and it's such a consideration to do, and I don't want that to lose its value when these go from Netflix to Disney. I'm probably going to still get the Disney service. I'm still going to try and watch them. I'm going to wait till probably the first thing comes out, and then I'm going to give my 10 cents on that. when it goes live, but I at least wanted to get this out here before they make a big move. And I kind of want to call out the things that I have an issue with, and or at least the things I believe will be an issue that they'll have to deal with. They're going to have to, I think, honestly, Disney's going to have to learn, not everything has got to be sunshine, bubblegums, and Wonderland. It can't always be, you know, the bad guy gets his comeuppance and the good guy gets the girl and everything goes back to hunky-dory. Because it's not. That was the whole kind of point of Defenders, and that no matter what it is, if there's an injustice, the people who have the power should step up and do something. And that's also, you know, we see that come up very often. Spider-Man, you know, like with great power comes great responsibility. Captain America did that. That's a whole point of why he was created, was to show that you can be somebody, or you don't have to be somebody to contribute. I mean, he was a scrawny little kid from Brooklyn, and he's then Captain America. He may have had the serum, but he had the heart ahead of time. And that is something that we see very well portrayed in the Netflix stuff. That these might be people. They have flaws. Same as you, same as me. We are not perfect people. But they still get up every day and fight for what is right and what needs to be done. Luke Cage is all about that. He makes mistakes. Matt Murdock makes mistakes. Jessica Jones, Punisher, they all make mistakes. But you don't let that stop you. It's a matter of perseverance. It's a matter of endurance. It's a matter of simply giving no end to your willpower in this. You can do anything if you set your mind to it. And that's the point. Even the bad guys still represent that. Wilson Fisk is 100% about imposing his will. He's smart. He's crafty. He knows his limitations. He knows what he's willing to sacrifice, but he also knows what he wants. I'm not saying he's a good guy. In no aspect is he a good guy. But the point is, you need to, these are teaching us lessons of determination. Things might be bad. You cannot fix every bad thing. But if you have the capacity to make something better, why aren't you? And that's what I like. In everybody's flawed way, they try and make the world a better place. Sometimes it's removing corrupt politicians, or, I don't know, going after people, even though you fully know you should not win. That's the whole point of Punisher 1, by the way, is there may have been a mistake. And let's be honest, there was a mistake. But he knows what was wrong, and he knows that he can fix it. And that is perfect. Punisher 2, great example of that, in my personal opinion. In really, accept your flaws, but realize your strengths, and live by your own code. Do right. That's all we ask. Be good people. Don't go screaming at other people because of, just because someone else told you to. Look at the situation, examine it, and learn from it. Anyway, guys, I didn't really know where this was going to go. I'm probably got super philosophical and existential on you, but that's what these things do. They make you think, and that's why I love these shows. They make me think about what's right, what's wrong, and how we can fix things. I don't have the power to fix the world. You don't either, and to be honest, most of the people that we put in charge don't either. But the fact is, that doesn't mean we should stop trying. If we quit, then we've already lost. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really, once again, did not know where this was going to go, and I hope this is a learning experience for some people, or at least it makes you think. Call me sappy, call me, a hopeless romantics, or, idealizing certain aspects of it, but is that a bad thing? Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you all in the next video. Leave a like down below if you enjoyed this, or, leave a comment about your own opinions. I'm happy to read them. But you all stay awesome. Bye, everybody.